Hey guys, before I get into the podcast, I wanted to just mention something briefly. So about a week ago, one of my best friends passed away from cancer. Really, really tough. Obviously, feeling it and such. Usually, I open the show with the theme song, and then get into my intros and such like that. But I wanted to kind of go a couple of minutes just talking about my buddy who passed away, and then I will play the theme song. So this way, if I have a breakdown or don't feel well, I have 2 minutes to get myself back together before the show actually starts. My buddy Stephen Frost passed away about a week ago after a long bout with cancer. It feels weird to me. I did want to dedicate this show to his memory. We did a lot of things together. We go to Devils games. We used to go to the movies a lot. All sorts of different things. So for me, it's weird just to kind of know that he doesn't exist anymore. And the fact that at 47 years old, this is the first time that I've actually lost a friend to death, I guess, at this point in life, which feels really weird. I don't know. I guess it probably doesn't get any easier as you get older, but the fact that he was 49 when he passed away is really, really difficult for me. And at some point, hopefully I can kind of come to grips with it. But this is something that's obviously huge on my mind right now, and is a big piece of my life. So if I do seem off or break at any point during this episode, you'll know why. But with that said, I just wanted to kind of mention that, and also pay tribute to Stephen and his family and the fact that we miss you, and that's kind of how it goes, I guess. Anyhow, here's the theme song, and we'll get into the episode in a couple of minutes.
This is the theme to the show. The show is all about you. Not you, but you and your story. Because everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. JeffSeltzer.com.
Hello and welcome to Everybody's a Story with Jeff Seltzer. I'm your host, Jeff Seltzer, and welcome to my personal midlife crisis. Before getting into the show, did want to get into the usual plugs. So as you guys already know, on Instagram, you can find the show at Everybody's a Story Pod. Also on TikTok at Everybody Has a Story Pod. My personal Instagram is at Seltzer77. For all things Jeff Seltzer, you can always check me out at JeffSeltzer.com. If you'd like to reach the show directly via email, you can email the show at everybodyhasastorypod@gmail.com. Additionally, our new website, which I'm still not sure what we're going to do with it yet, but it does exist, is everybodyhasastorypod.com. As a reminder, we are on all podcast platforms. We are video on Spotify and YouTube. We are audio on those two places and everywhere else. If you'd like to buy a podcast t-shirt, please feel free to email the show or DM the show on Instagram, as we have a number of medium, large, and extra large shirts available, both front and back. They're gray. Front has the logo, back has the logo, and says the name of the show. Really cool. Great way to support and promote the show. But also at $20, it's actually a pretty good deal on a podcast t-shirt as well. With that said, I did want to talk a little bit about, I guess, something I've been talked about in the past, but it kind of leads into my guest for this week. So I've talked a lot in the past about the fact that I think that I am an introvert. I am also very data savvy and also very open to changing my mind and changing my hypothesis based on data that comes in. So being that I've always said that I was an introvert, I think we've had a number of data points over the last few months that kind of contradict that. So I'm kind of looking to see if maybe I'm not as introvertish as I think I am. So number one, the question comes up, would an introvert have a podcast, right? A podcast where they talk to other people and connect. Definitely weird, definitely a little bit outside for an introvert. So maybe that's strike one against me. Strike two. So a few months ago, Jamie Romano was a guest on the show. Her aunt listened and was like, yeah, Jeff's absolutely not an introvert. I'm not sure what he's talking about. So it makes me think about if other people see me differently, maybe I'm not as introvertish as I think I am. I mean, I do have the general tendencies in the fact that when I am around a lot of people, it tends to drain me and I need time to myself to recover, which on the flip side, extroverts tend to get their energy from people. So those stupid extroverts keep stealing my energy. I guess, I don't know, maybe. Thirdly, though, which I think might be the biggest strike against me, is generally an introvert wouldn't meet random people or new people while by themselves, I guess. So my guest this week, who I'm going to introduce in a moment, Renita Clarke, I met her while I was online at a WWE event, a wrestling event of sorts. We were both hanging out, waiting in line to get in, and we just struck up a conversation. This is very, very, I'd say, atypical introvertish behavior, which I've had a lot of thoughts behind. Like generally, like I go on vacations by myself sometimes. I'm a married guy. I have 2 kids. Obviously, hang out with my family, my wife, my kids. but I do go on vacation by myself, and I will go away for a few days and not talk to a single person. Yet somehow I ended up striking a conversation, and had a lot of fun, and really enjoyed hanging out with my guest this week while in line, and then also during the event as well, which we'll get into. So I'm not necessarily there in terms of, basically giving up the idea that maybe I'm not an introvert or that I am an introvert, but I'm definitely thinking about it. Like maybe I know I call myself a hybrid, but maybe I am an extrovert of sorts. I don't know. Maybe we'll figure it out at some point. Maybe we won't. But with that said, let's maybe ask our guest for this week, Renita Clarke, and see what she thinks. Renita, it's great to meet you. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Jeff?
I'm good. So first of all, thank you for joining. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So before we get more into, I guess, our origin story, and what we talked about, how we met, do you want to give a little brief about who is Renita Clarke?
Yeah. So Renita Clarke I'm in my 40s too, Jeff. So, we're riding the same gang here. Um, Born and raised in the DMV area. That's the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Um, been a huge fan of wrestling because that's one of our connections here since I was a kid. And also growing up, I got into photography, which I continued into my older years, which I still enjoy doing. Um, and it's funny because I feel like I'm not a people person either, but I think me and you have the same problem. Like I can spend time with myself. I am, every all my friends say it's because I'm the only child, right? So I have fun by myself sometimes where I don't want to be around a lot of people. And then it's times where I'm like, okay, I can be in a social setting and not want to jump off a bridge. But maybe it's something that we love or care about so much deeply that connects us with people that kind of bring us out. And I think that's what happened to us when we first met.
So I can definitely see that. So what I'll say is this: like there are certain, let's say, types of people, maybe like overwhelming or overly aggressive people that really just drain the hell out of me. That like when I'm talking to them, whether it be professionally or personally, like I just think to
Yep.
myself, like I don't want to be in the situation. I think maybe both of us are, let's say, a little more calm, a little more, I don't say passive, a little softer in the way that we interact. That it didn't feel offensive, maybe is the word to use, or whatever. But whatever it was, just kind of clicked. And I think, from the very beginning in our conversations, it just felt very natural. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like we knew each other before we met
Yes.
that day. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, what helps is the fact that, to your point, we have a lot of commonalities from a wrestling perspective. Right off the bat, we both recognize we both like independent wrestling. We both like basically all wrestling of all sorts. So right off the bat, you can kind of like cross off some of the things like, hey, neither one of us is going to try to say like, hey, this is better than that. It's
Yep.
more a matter of, hey, we're going to appreciate everything together. It's not a
Yep.
competition. We're just going to enjoy it, which I think probably helped. And again, I'm very internally therapeutic towards myself in terms of trying to understand. I'm probably the most self-aware person that I know, and the fact that like I don't know, I think about everything, and then I think about it after it happened, and I think about it again. So I think there's just a lot of things that just went well. I think when we talked about it again, not that I'm trying to make this weird, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
Awesome. So again, appreciate your joining, and I do love the fact that a you're a wrestling photographer, b you love wrestling, and c that you're female. In the fact that like, so I spoke with, I'm not sure if you know who she is, Mary Kate Anthony. So
Yeah.
Mary Kate is I talked to her a few months ago on the podcast. She is a longtime wrestling fan. She's done photography for ECW, for Ring of Honor. She has a bunch of friends in the business, such like that. And like for me, I was intrigued by the fact that again, she's a female. She's a female wrestling fan, and she's a female wrestling photographer in the business. And you are as well. I talked a lot about in that conversation that she was an anomaly. And I still want to say that it's probably still an anomaly, even though I've only had
Absolutely.
two wrestling photographers and they're both females. So I feel like I'm almost like stating the case that it's the opposite. But I don't know. Somehow I guess like, we just get connected, myself and, unique and individual stories, I guess. Right. And obviously you and her come from different areas, different places, different sets of fandom. So I did want to dig a little bit into, your, let's say, wrestling origins and your photography origins. So you had said you're from the DC area. Was that right?
Yeah, so the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, we just grouped it all together and we call it the DMV
Okay.
area. But I was really born and raised in Maryland. My mom was DC, my dad's Virginia, so I just claimed the whole everything. Um, but yeah, so growing up on the wrestling side, when I was a kid, my great grandmother and great grandfather used to babysit me, and they were huge wrestling fans. So that's how I got into it growing up. And when I say huge, this is NWA, WCW days,
Right.
and she was hugely, hugely in love with Ric Flair, which drove my great grandfather crazy, which entertained me.
It's
And
great.
then I became uberly obsessed with Dusty Rhodes and then uberly obsessed with Sting. So it kind of just drew me in, but that was my introduction. And then on the photography side, as a kid, this is probably preteens now. Um, my grandmother got me a box camera, just the ones shoot, throw away, and
Yes.
send the film to like the drugstore to get printed or whatever.
Yep.
And I became obsessed with photography because then I realized it annoyed my family because even though they gave me a camera, they didn't like pictures.
Sure.
So it fed my fandom and obsession with photography that kind of just stuck. So I kind of rode down these two roads in my life. And with wrestling, you grow up, you're into it, you're out of it, you're
Of
into it
course.
and out of it. But I kind of never fell out of it, which was really weird. And I'm watching friends, that were in it and they've dropped off and now they're living lives. And I'm like, okay, am I weird? Because I'm still following it and I'm getting older and older and older.
Right.
And then with the photography side, it's just I started meeting more and more people that were into photography. And I took a break for a little bit, which is funny. I DJ'd
Oh,
for
wow.
a little bit. So I was like your wedding. I was Davis DJ's type of DJ,
Nice.
had my little DJ set in a box, would travel, do your weddings, bar mitzvahs, bar mitzvahs. I was your girl. And back then I was the only girl in the group doing that as well. Um, and then talk to photographers, why everything we're all packing up to go home. And I never got into wedding photography, which I don't think that's me, but it did start to buzz again about like, oh, maybe I should pick up this camera. And then it started, and then I've never put it down since.
Nice. So, real quick comment to that. So, you never got into wedding photography, which,
No.
honestly, is probably not an awful thing, just because the amount of pressure on wedding photography.
It's a
Real
lot.
quick side story for like my wedding. So, I got married almost 21 years ago at this point. So back then, the photographer still used film, and that's kind of how it went. Um, the photographer, I don't know if he got drunk or what his deal was, but he exposed like half of the pictures. So there were a lot of obviously super important pictures that were close to our hearts that just never happened because they were exposed. I would assume it's probably less of an issue nowadays with digital, but it's one of those things where like, you know, if you mess up some pictures in like a party or bar mitzvah, it's probably not as important, but like a wedding is a wedding. So like that's pretty high, high profile. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So they're still important though.
Of
So,
course. No,
but for me,
yeah, I get it.
no, but for me, the wedding is just way more pressure.
Sure.
Um, because again, like to your point, it can happen with digital. A card can error out,
Sure,
you
sure.
could lose images, and you have to capture so much and almost be at multiple places at one time. So I
Sure.
think for weddings, videographers have it made. They can kind of just like float like and glide through and catch everything. And I feel
Right.
like for still photographers, it's harder because you got to make sure you get everybody, get the dance, get the reception, get the vows. It's just a lot going on. Um, but I don't know. I feel like with the bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and it's like a party,
Yeah,
even though it's a very important party, and they will tell you.
of course.
But it's like a party. So to me, it's a little bit more lax versus a wedding. And that pressure, I'm like, nope, I can't do that.
So when you've done those types of events, do you take multiple cameras like as a backup, or kind of like do you just figure like your camera will be fine and you're good to go?
No. So I learned the hard way. The very first time I did it, you have to take multiple cameras.
Right.
Um, just for again, if something happens in that, my lens malfunctioned, and thank God I was towards the end of the night. So
Sure.
I didn't miss that much. But from that moment on, any type of event like that, it's 2 cameras and even a backup in a bag just in case.
Of course. Okay, so you've done some events and such like that, but like in your early years, when you first got the camera from your family, like what were you focusing on? Were you taking just random pictures outside, pictures of people in your family, harassing people in your house? Like what were you taking pictures of at the time?
Yeah, at the very beginning, it was all family. So we did family trips. We loved Ocean City back then. So I have some like grainy, really bad, I don't know what even I was pointing the camera at shots of Ocean City, but a lot of it is them not paying attention, not realizing I'm taking it. Then some of them like coming at me, yelling at me to stop taking the photos, which was great because I grew up with my grandma and my 2 aunts. And my one aunt, we're 10 years apart, so we're the closest.
Yep.
My mom decided to call me her first name and then name me my second aunt her middle name.
Oh no.
So right. So the one that I'm closest to, we
Yes.
are the same first name. We are
Right.
Renita Clarke.
Oh no.
So she was already annoyed at that because she's the youngest and she
Right.
was like, "Oh, I'm done." And then it's like, "Who's this kid? And wait a minute, why does she have my name?"
Right.
So she was the my favorite to torture because you're already annoyed at me. So I felt like you couldn't even be more annoyed. So I have a lot of shots of her like coming at me like like she's gonna choke me to death. But they're my favorite. Um and I guess we're exposed because I don't know if she knows I still have some of those photos, but I guess she
Well,
knows now.
well, allegedly you have those photos. Maybe you don't.
Or
We'll have to
this
see.
is true. This is true.
Yes. So outside of obviously, her threatening violence to you or taking pictures, I'd imagine, back then it was the time of landline phones, and people would call up and say, "Hi, Renita Clarke, please," and like, which one? And that could probably cause confusion as well, right?
Oh, everything. Everything. When my grandma anyone, my grandma, anyone calls, they just say Renita. Well,
Right.
it's 2 of us. So, we were both answering, especially in the same household.
Right.
So, but, yeah, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I get that. Sophomore year of college. So my name's Jeff Seltzer, Jeff S. My roommate for sophomore year was also a Jeff S. Um, and again, landline phone still. So people would call all the time and like, "Hey, is Jeff there? Which one? Jeff S." Oh, that's an issue. Like I could
Right.
definitely see that. Or even, I mean, I've seen like in the news, actor Taylor Lautner married someone else named Taylor. So now it's Taylor
Yeah.
Lautner and Taylor Lautner, which is like that's just so random and weird, right? Like
No, that was weird.
I
That
don't
was
know.
something out of the Twilight Zone.
or
Weird.
Twilight, I guess, right? So random. Okay, so you were obviously harassing people, as most people at that age would with a camera. At what point did you get a little bit more serious and say, "Hey, there were certain things that I want"? Did you ever take any classes? Kind of like how did your photography progress?
So it started online actually. Actually take step back a little bit. Teenage years, it was books.
Sure,
So just going to the library getting books. Then it progressed to like YouTube. I didn't start really doing classes until like my early 20s. And that was just like at your photo shop and they're
sure.
having a workshop type of class. So never went to school to learn photography. So I want to say it was more self-taught, which
Okay,
did take a little longer, I felt, trying to figure it all out. Um, I wish that I was younger now these days
right.
though, because now it's just everything. I could learn on my phone, take a full-blown class from my living room, like, so I think it's great now, but it was more like, I guess, grassroots maybe, for me back then. And then I didn't take it honestly seriously until maybe my early, I would say, 20s.
Okay,
And serious is where I felt like I could take a photo and get paid for it and not get feel guilty
sure.
that I'm taking the money. And even that was hard because I'm like, I'm new. I don't know. I didn't know other photographers, so you don't know what to charge.
Right.
So a lot of it was like, okay, friends, I need practice. So what do you want? Like, okay, Dr. Pepper, perfect. Let's do it. So it was a lot of those.
Right.
But I appreciate them because, with friends, it's comfortable if you mess up. It's not the end of the world.
Sure.
But I learned from that. And I think one of the things too I liked about the way I did it too is it opened my mind to different types of photography.
Yep.
So I talked to people that went to school and then they kind of went towards a certain style and stayed that way. So they are like fashion photographers or journalists. So like in the street, in the dirt, like real like gritty type of photography. Some majority of them are like portrait photographers. So, I feel like with mine, because I didn't really know, I couldn't get led down one road. So I kept going down a road and going down another road and just kept going and going. And then whatever I felt that I'm like, okay, I like this, I kind of
Right.
went with that. And that's how I progressed.
Gotcha. And let me ask you this, and we'll get into the wrestling stuff in a bit.
Mhm.
But obviously, doing photography for a bar bat mitzvah versus doing it for, like, say, for wrestling is two very different things, right? Wrestling is a lot more active. People are moving. So there's a lot of, like, fast moving
Yeah.
shots versus at a bar mitzvah, maybe they pick up the kid in a chair. But for the most part, it's not that active. Like, I guess, at what point did you learn how to, like, take, like, motion photos versus, still shots?
So I started off with sports.
Okay.
So shout out to PJ, shout out to Yusef. um, Two gentlemen that are actually still in my life till this day.
Awesome.
I ventured and I wanted to do sports photography. And I met PJ first, and PJ was like, "Oh, well, if you want to learn, you got to jump in it." So he took me to, it was a private school that he used to shoot, and it was lacrosse. And if anyone knows anything about lacrosse, that ball
All over the place, right?
is
Everywhere.
all over the place, and
Yes.
it's small.
Yes.
And the shots that you have to get for lacrosse is basically you have to follow the ball.
Right.
So when I was younger, I was did a little bit of lacrosse, never joined a team,
Okay.
but did a little bit, thought I knew something, and then once really got into it, I'm like, nope, this ball hurts. It comes to your face, and I was
Yes.
like, I'm out. So that was my first introduction to, I want to say, like motion photography
Okay.
was PJ. And I thank him for it because if once I got the rhythm of following the ball at that fast pace, then he got me into basketball.
Okay.
And again, thank you to PJ. And then meeting, this is how I met Yusef, because the PJ I was able to shoot the Wizards and the Mystics
Oh wow, that's
for
great.
Washington,
Yeah.
right? Which was cool.
Yeah, it's huge.
And like I met, didn't know like anything about media rooms, any like nothing of
Sure.
that. So I'm green as green can be. And PJ introduced me to Yusef. And he's an older retired gentleman, but's been shooting sports, both of them like for years. So they're like vets in this game. And so, but they kind of took me under their wing. And then I realized with the fast pace of lacrosse, I'm like, okay, well, I played basketball before. So I'm like, okay, follow the ball. And
Yes.
that kind of what became in my head, my mantra to every sport as I went. So I went to University of Maryland, graduated from University of Maryland. So I was able to befriend some folks as alumni. And I started covering like their men's baseball, football for them, and soccer. And it's funny just going over and over, like, and these are at this point, I'm ventured on my own. Because they were like, okay, we showed you the tools, but now you kind of have to keep it going and don't stick with one sport because they'll say you'll get used to it. So you got to move around. So that's what I tried to do. But I would say, like, shooting motion is not easy.
Right.
And as you know, with wrestling, there is no ball.
Right.
So the theory for me, which works, me being a fan. So I've talked to other wrestling photographers and they've told me like different things of how they shot wrestling. But for me, because I'm a fan, my way of shooting is based on storyline.
Gotcha.
So it's like I kind of know where wrestling's going to be, the walk down, an interruption, someone's going to come out. Like, so you kind of always have to be prepared because you never know where anyone's going to come from. Like
Right.
AEW is perfect. Like you have to find where Moxley and his crew, the Death Riders, are going to pop out,
Yes.
or with like shout out to all the photographers and videographers that have to track Jay Uso.
Oh,
And then
that
and then
SummerSlam
track,
shot where like it's like a 25-minute walk to the ring. Like
dude, it's
outside of the
crazy.
photography place, I am exhausted just watching it and then watching him have a full
Right.
match afterwards. Because for those that don't know, Jay Uso in WWE, he basically comes down like from like the seats basically. So when they had SummerSlam at MetLife Stadium, which is a football stadium, he was legitimately like suite level. He walks all the way through the crowd, makes it to the ring. I said 25. It's probably like a 5 or 6 minute walk. And then he has like a full 20-minute match afterwards, which like I said, I was exhausted just watching that. Shout out to him on that. But also to your point, knowing where he's going to come from. So with photographers, videographers, get the perfect shot.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
And it's, it's cool because you can get that crowd shot of the crowd like really excited and around him.
Right.
But then with him, he becomes like, where's Waldo?
Right.
Because then he'll walk, then he'll stop, and then he'll do his hand gesture of the yeet.
Yep.
So then you have to wait for that. And then normally a kid's involved. So then you're trying to get him and the kid, and then he moves down. And then, yeah. So then it's like, where's Waldo? Where's Jay Uso? He's really like, I tip my hat off to everyone that can get a still shot of him as he does that walk.
Right.
But with wrestling, you have to be prepared. Like that's easy. He's kind of doing the walk. So now you got to get ready for the match. And I think for me, being a fan and watching it, and I think, Jeff, that's where I like our relationship is because like you said before, we're fans of all different type of wrestling.
Right.
And we're both huge fans of indies.
Yes.
So it's great when you get that indie wrestler that breaks in, because then I feel like I'm a pro wrestler then, because I already know like, I already know your finish, what you're going to do, how you're going to come out. This is great. So yeah, so I feel like, yep, you can't tell me nothing. I'm a Getty photographer at that point. But yeah, so the action does move differently. But yeah, I tip my hat off to anyone that shoots any type of motion photography because it's not easy at all.
Yep. So to that point, I know when we chatted last, I think you had mentioned that you're not necessarily for independent wrestling a ringside photographer. You're a little further back. Is that fair, or you generally do ringside as well?
No, so for House of Glory Wrestling,
Yes.
Hog for us fans that know, um,
Of course.
actually I got into that via the venue. And
Okay.
shout out to Val. Val was the house photographer. And then House of Glory, they have their ring photographers. So, and then you have Danny, shout out to Danny, which kind of walks around. So he gets all your crowd shots. He shoots back by me. So House of Glory, to be funny, it ended up like falling into my lap. I was a fan of House of Glory. For work, I ended up living in Long Island, which for any independent wrestling fans is great. You have Creative Pro and you
Right.
have House of Glory. Those
Yes.
were my end all be alls. So I got to just soak in independent wrestling. So then I would go and drummed it up with Val one day, and Val introduced me to Chris, which also does MMA out of that venue
Nice.
as well. So I was able to shoot my first MMA cage, which was fun and exciting and nerve wracking, trying to shoot a perfect shot through a fence. But so, and then from there, I was come, bring my camera, stand next to Val. We would talk, and then that's how I ended up getting like that gig. So for me, like I said, I one day I'm going to put out in the universe because I think positively
Of
would
course.
love to be ringside.
Okay.
I
We'll
also
make that happen.
am nervous about being ringside. Because again, you know that fan in you, I
Oh,
would just
sure.
want everything to be so perfect, and I would feel like be the one to go right into a camera shot and be fired. Um,
Or we'll go right into a super kick, either one, right?
right, like, and but I could be part of a story at that point.
Of
But yeah, so ringside would be great. And I forgot the woman's name, but I met the only female, and this is bad because I should remember her name. She's currently the only female staff for WWE.
Okay.
So she gets to do the stills when they walk to their entrance.
Gotcha.
She does ringside, and it's just really cool. When I did Atlanta, I literally was just watching her shoot, and was like that's cool, like that's what I want to do.
Nice.
But I also like from the far, like I was able to shoot due to my University of Maryland connections. I was able to shoot Ring of Honor
Nice.
when they were at UMBC, and it was towards the end of Ring of
Was
Honor,
it the
so it
last
was.
final battle before AW bought them? I think they were there. Was it around that time or?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to say the last big one was when Braun came, like when Braun and EC3 was doing their side thing, and they
Yep.
came, and I got to shoot Roxanne when she was champ, and
Nice.
Dina Peraza challenging her. Like Ring of Honor to me went out with a bang.
Sure.
Um, I got to, which is one of my favorites to shoot, was the Briscoes.
Nice.
So it was like LA Knight before he was LA Knight, Chelsea before she was like Chelsea
Right.
Green. So yeah, it's just, and that's again why I love independence. Like I wouldn't have known any of them.
Right.
Mark Cadona, Young Bucks, Cody after WWE.
Of course.
So yeah, so that was cool. But
So
yeah.
let me ask you this then. So when you do, let's say, do photography for indie shows, obviously you're trying to get certain shots. Do they, let's say, smarten you up about what's potentially going to happen, so you know what to focus on, or you're kind of like learning as it happens?
Sometimes I'll get with production just to do the run of show,
Sure, sure.
just to see how it's going to go, but that's pretty much it.
Okay,
And I feel like for Hog, where I stand is the perfect spot
got
because
it.
I can get them coming down, I can get them ringside, I can get fans' reaction. So my view's kind of like a overseeing
Sure, sure.
view, which I like. But again, one of these days I will get ringside to one
That's
of
it.
these
Like
shows.
you said, we'll put it to the universe. I think it's going to happen. I mean, I've seen a lot of your work. It's fantastic stuff. So
Thank
I'm
you.
sure only bigger and better things for you. Um, if I ask to go too deep in here, let me know. Do
Yeah.
you like, is photography your full time gig, or do you do other stuff as well? Like, do you have like as they call a shoot job, or is photography how you pay your bills?
No, I wish photography though was how I pay my bills. Nope, have a 9 to 5. Just transitioned though to focus more on photography.
Nice.
My current employer works, it's hard to say work-life balance because is it really a
Sure.
work-life balance?
Right.
But it's more so for photography. Before then, I was literally working 12, 14-hour
Oh,
days, and I
yeah.
was just too tired,
Yeah.
or I would miss a show because the show's already started before I could even get to it.
Right.
And that's even when I was shooting concerts was the same. It's just the schedules would just run into each other, so I'm missing like gig after gig after gig.
Yep.
And I wish that photography was at the point where I could be like, yeah, this is it. Like, but right now, like I said, I'm blessed, knock on wood, that I'm at a place where it works. And especially with wrestling, to be honest, in the last couple years, this is the most wrestling that I've shot. Um, So I'm really excited about that. I still shoot other sports, go Mystics,
Very
not
nice.
biased, but also go Liberty. I like both teams.
Very
Yes, my
cool.
friends are going to kill me, but yes, I love both teams.
Yeah.
So,
Real quick to that
yeah.
point, my wife and younger daughter are going to the Sun game this Sunday. They bought tickets when Caitlin Clarke was still healthy, so they probably paid way too much. Hopefully, Caitlin gets back soon, but we're going to Mohegan Sun checking it out. So looking for a good time with that. But love the WNBA in general.
Yeah, and the Suns are doing they're doing good too. So
Yeah,
it's still a good game. And shout out to WNBA because when I first was shooting them, no one was giving these women love.
sure,
Nobody. Um, and I will hate for me, and this is only personal
of
for
course.
me.
Yep, n equals one.
I was shooting on court. That's how bad it was. And mind you, I'm just a little old Renita, not from nothing like no like Washington Post or New York Times or
Right,
Fox Sports, none of that back in the
right.
day.
Yeah,
And but I have a lot of the women that grew to where they are now. Like I have a ton of Asia Wilson back then, and people didn't know who Asia was.
they know now.
And they
Yes,
absolutely
right.
100% long overdue. Let me just add, let's go, South Carolina.
That's right.
But yeah, so it's good to watch them grow and finally get like all the accolades they should have got. And then I also got to shoot legends before they retired, which was like Donna Taurasi and the Sue Birds. And so yeah, I've been blessed and lucky. But see, now we went from wrestling to
Look,
WNBA.
it's all good. So
Jeff,
it's
I'm
all good.
taking
Well,
over your podcast.
we're going 360 here. So first of all, shout out to my buddy Marcus Brandon, who's a huge WNBA fan. So much so that he started a WNBA fantasy league this year that I'm a part of. I am, for the record, coming in dead last right now, but we are trying though. We're definitely it's getting more engagement. We're watching more games from it, which is great. Secondly, I'll say so. I'm married, I have a wife, I have two daughters. So years ago, like very early on, we started taking our daughters to WNBA games and to Rutgers Lady Knights games because I wanted to make sure my kids saw that, like, hey, women can do anything guys can do. Like, whatever you want to do, you can do it or whatever. So showing them that, like, hey, if you want to be a basketball player, great. Women can do it. They can make money doing it, such like that. But wanted to expose them to everything that's out there as opposed to just the NBA, which the NBA is great. But I want to make sure that they recognize that, they could do whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and that's cool. Like, there's a young photographer in the DC area. Shout out to Joy Washington. And she's doing her thing. Like she's working with Fox Sports and she's like out there grinding and hustling and make sure to follow Joy Washington, Washington, DC, LinkedIn. Give her that support. And shouts out and gives me flowers all the time.
Awesome.
And I'm just like, you never know who you may impact. I'm just going and, we met and she was like, no, like you've talked to me, you've helped me. Like, and she's ran into, which what I totally understand because I ran into it too, where you will have like some of the vets and they're like, okay, well, who are you, little girl with this camera? Like,
Right.
can you move out of our way? Like,
Right.
and you kind of have to like maybe like earn your stripes, I guess, sort of. And that's how it was in the concert biz. Like, shout out to my boy Craig. When we first met, he was hard on me because it was like, okay, who are you? Like, you're new. Like, this is our area. Like, what are you doing? Nope, can't stand here, can't stand there. But then it's crazy because me and him ended up becoming cool. Why, Jeff? Because we talked about wrestling.
That's right. It's a commonality.
And yep, and meeting the minds of the Hardy brothers, and it was love after that. But shout out to Craig and his family. But I say that to say like you just never know who you will meet. And as you're working, I'm just working
Right.
and not realizing like I could be inspiring the young me back then and saying like, oh wow, like look at her and she's shooting and she's doing this and like, oh, I want to do that. And like you said, it's like, with girls we can do whatever the guys can do and that's how it is. And so it's cool that do that with your daughters. I think that's really important too, to be like, whatever y'all want to do,
Of
like,
course.
the support of you and your wife is just awesome.
Yeah, and to say that also, I'll say this too, like both personally and professionally, I have that mindset. So at work this summer, I was put in charge of the intern program for my department, let's say. Without sharing too much to the wider audience what I do, I did manage the interns for the summer, and I wanted to make sure they got the experience that I did not get 25 years ago. I want to
Right.
make sure that they get opportunities that I didn't get. I want to make sure that they can experience things, learn things, connect with whoever, and realize like, hey, these are all opportunities that when you graduate college you can go to. Um, and I did everything I could to mentor them, support them, help them, because I think that's the way it is, right? Like for me, 25 years ago, like it took me years to kind of find my place of what I wanted to do. I want them to not ever have to experience that, and so that way they've got the connections now. They've learned a lot. They've gotten a lot of lessons that I didn't have years ago, but all in a very like positive and supportive manner. I think that's probably the best way to raise up the next generation. And for me, at the end of the day, I want to make this world or leave this world better than when I came into it. So that's always my mindset.
Yeah. It's I mean, because we're getting older. So to me, it's like, play it forward.
Yes.
Like, what are we gonna do with it?
Right.
Like, we have all of these gifts, we have all of this knowledge, and instead of just leaving the world with it, we should share it and then let the next person, it's almost like a relay. Let them take the baton and go their way and grow, and
Absolutely.
so yeah, absolutely.
And to that point, I'd say for me, it's almost like I get more personal satisfaction at work, like helping the analysts and helping the interns and helping them to kind of see what they want to do for the next 30 or 40 years versus doing my day job. So that might be too much information for everybody else out there. But like for me, I like to help people. I guess maybe I'm a bit of a people pleaser. But with that said, I do want to make sure that people had opportunities that I didn't have. So that's where I am. Cool. So we are running late in time, but I did want to really quick go over the story of how you and I met. So I alluded to it earlier, but for those of you that are home that are, I guess, super curious at this point. So a few weeks ago during SummerSlam week, there were WWE tryouts. Now you look at it and say, well, Jeff, you're 47 years old, 5'8", 175 pounds. Why are you trying out for WWE at this point in your life? So that wasn't what we were doing. So basically, there was a company called On Location, which I think WWE might even own, that they offer various like once in a lifetime experiences. So when I went to WrestleMania in Philly a year and a half ago, I got my sweet package through them. And this time, both myself and Renita, who we ended up meeting at the event, bought tickets for the tryout, which you might also ask yourself, why would somebody want to sit there and just watch a tryout? Like, what's the excitement behind that? Great question. So there were lots of parts to it. But first of all, getting back to how we met, I think I mentioned earlier, Renita and I were both in line. We're both near the front of the line, just kind of like hanging out there. And I noticed Renita had a jacket that had Eddie Guerrero on it and other wrestlers and such like that. And somehow we got into conversation, started talking about wrestling, independent wrestling, recognized we have similar mindset, similar, let's say, values, similar interests and stuff like that. And both of us were by ourselves. So as we went inside, we sat down next to each other and we just struck up a great conversation. So we had a conversation as we sat there and watched, let's say 50 or 60 like Division I athletes, actors, independent wrestlers, whatever, just trying different, various wrestling exercises, workouts, stuff like that. It was cool watching because you had like Steve Corino, Norman Smiley, Albert, like a lot of the legends, let's say, training them. It was cool. So we got our ticket. It was a VIP ticket to watch it. It came with, you got a shirt, you got a lunchbox, which is a really cool little metal SummerSlam lunchbox. A lunch, which was, let's say, less than stellar. Did have a bottle of water, though, which was nice. So we got to sit there for an hour, watch them train. Then we got to go into another room and watch. There was a Q&A session. So it was Shawn Michaels, Heartbreak Kid, Chelsea Green, Grayson Waller, and Rhea Ripley, which for me, that was probably the big selling point. I don't know about you, but for me, I was kind of on the fence about doing the event, especially based on the price point. But then once they announced Chelsea and Rhea were going to be in it, that's kind of what got me to pull the trigger. What was the deciding factor for you? Like, what made you say, hey, this is something I want to do and I'm going to pay for it?
I've never did it. So, like I said, this is the most wrestling shooting and attending probably I've done, like back to back and then different territory promotions. So when it came up, I was like, okay, cool. And then I saw like, okay, it has talent. Have not met Rhea yet. Like, cool. I had the pleasure to meet Chelsea in the Indies and then met her and Matt. So that was kind of cool. Grace and I like too. So I was like, price point, Rhea Ripley, normally her price point. So I started the math. The math started to work out. So I was like, okay, why not? It's I may never do it again.
Sure.
And that was my thought. So I was like, okay, one time, let's do it. It
Of
sounds
course.
like it would be fun.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna lie, like now knowing what we did and then Shawn Michaels that
Yep.
wasn't even supposed to be,
That's
yeah,
right.
that I mean, we didn't pay enough pretty much.
Yeah. To add to that, I would say so. After the meet and greet and the questions and answers, we got to watch about 45 minutes of some of the wrestlers basically do their promos and come out of the entrance. For me, I would say everything we talked about before definitely made the price worth it. But then afterwards, I think you and I texted afterwards about it, the fact that we were, as soon as it was over, racing to get as many pictures with some of the tryout participants, as well as for those that don't know, from Curb Your Enthusiasm, Cheryl Hines was there as her daughter was trying out. So for me, I'm not a huge Curb fan or even a huge Cheryl fan, but that's one where when she appears at conventions, she could be, a decent amount to pay for a picture. So I was like, you know what, let's see what we can do. I talked to her briefly, got a picture. So again, when I look at the personal ROI for the cost of it definitely becomes positive at that point, I would say, for me.
Yeah, and we got to see Regal.
Yeah.
Like William Regal a lot. Like, yeah, it was just
Yeah.
it just kept giving out. It was like a slot machine that just wouldn't, like, we already won and it just kept going.
It
So
did. Oh, speaking of which, did I mention to you that I got a picture with William Regal at Bloodsport 2 days later?
oh no.
Yeah, so if you get a chance, if anybody wants to, check out my Instagram at Seltzer77. So this was Thursday of SummerSlam week. On Saturday, me and my buddy Daniel went to Bloodsport. And at Bloodsport, like Natty Neidhart fought, Charles Dempsey fought, a bunch of them. And as soon as the show was over, I hung out by the back door and I got a picture with Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, William Regal, Natty Neidhart, Tyson Kidd, Pete Dunne. It was amazing. It was like my own personal meet and greet outside. It was until security yelled at me and said, "Hey, we're running late. You got to leave now." But I got a good 6 or 7 pictures with WWE wrestlers. I was pretty excited about that.
I knew I should have did Bloodsport.
It was such an awesome show. It's so
Yeah.
much fun. Always is. Awesome. So with that said, we are running late in time. So Renita, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. Anything you want to support, any social media, any plugs, promotions, stuff like that?
Well, my Instagram is my first name, Renita, middle name Renee, Renee, all one word. Coming soon will be my Instagram only dedicated to my photography pictures. Someone dear to me, aka one of my best friends, was like, "Yep, you should separate the worlds because we're clashing right now on your regular photography one."
Right.
So I'm gonna separate it. That's gonna be wrestling. That's right, wrestling
Nice.
Hive coming soon.
Okay.
And then the website also for that will be coming soon. So I'm excited about that. And then I feel comfortable that I can announce that I'm also dropping a book that's coming soon that will also be dedicated to wrestling. So it'll be my first wrestling book. I've released a book before. It was boudoir images when I used to cover um, stuff like that back in the day.
Sure.
And so I'm really excited about this one. It's a lot of promotions. I thought I would have to jump through a lot more red tape than I did. So thank you for that. I did not have to do that. So my team's been awesome. Shout out to Shayna Edmond, which is my dear friend, but also manager that's helping me manage all this because it's becoming way bigger than I thought it would be. But yeah, so those are my big ones. And if you care about the concert, Renita, at all, it's again, Renita Renee, all one word, .com for those that are interested in seeing some concert shot. I got some Judas Priests that I
Nice.
just
Nice.
dropped. So I'm excited.
Nice. So really cool. And again, tag me and everything that you put out as you get the new sites, whatever. I'd love to reshare them out or put them in stories and stuff like that. And last thing I wanted to mention too before I close out the show was it is very smart to separate your personal from your professional stuff. I've told the story in the past. So Sweet Cheeks Joey Silver, House of Glory wrestler.
Sweet cheeks.
That's
That's
right.
my
That's the man.
boy.
I love
Yeah.
Joey. Really great guy. If you go to his YouTube channel, obviously you see his wrestling stuff. But if you go about 10, 15 years back, I think his bar mitzvah video might be in his YouTube channel as well. Bit of an Easter egg there. So, probably a good thing to kind of separate your personal from professional. But it's a personal choice, I guess, right? It's how it is. With that said, thank you again, Renita, for joining the show. I do want to thank everybody for joining once again, as always. Like I said, this was a bit of a difficult week for me as I lost, a longtime friend of mine. And at this age is my first friend that I've lost due to passing. So thank you all for the sympathies and everything else that I've received. As a reminder, the show is on Instagram at Everybody's a Story Pod. My personal Instagram is at Seltzer77. The show's TikTok is at Everybody's a Story Pod. If you want to email the show, you can email it at everybodyasastorypod@gmail.com. For all things Jeff Seltzer, you can always check me out at jeffseltzer.com. We're on all podcast platforms, video on Spotify and YouTube, audio on those two locations and everywhere else. Lastly, thank you again for everybody who checked out last week's show, which was live from PWJ2. Got a lot of great comments about the Charles Mason and the CPA interviews. So really, really love both those guys. And again, shout out to Joey Silver for hooking up the Charles Mason conversation. And then also Zeta Steele, which she's a future star. I can't wait to see what happens with her from 2B and Evolve all the way up to NXT and wherever she ends up, though. So thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. I have a few more episodes coming up over the next few weeks before I go on a little bit of a break. So keep following, keep setting reviews, buy a t-shirt if you want. But outside of everything else, have a great day. Take care, guys.
Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. 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 Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer.